I stayed quiet for Mom until my brother sold Dad's heirloom, and now Darren is rewriting the story in public. Hi, I'm Marcus. I'm 42, and 3 months ago, I found out my brother sold our dead father's watch while I was holding his hand on hospice, promising to protect the family. That kind of betrayal doesn't hit you all at once. It trickles in slowly, like a bad faucet. One drip of confusion, one of suspicion, and then suddenly the damn pipe bursts and you're standing in ankle-deep lies. I didn't even know the watch was gone until I saw it on a stranger's wrist. Let me back up. My dad wasn't a perfect man. He was gruff, a little too fond of scotch and silence, but he was proud. He'd built his life with calloused hands and one working knee, and the one thing he ever treated like treasure was that 1961 Omega Seamaster. It was the only thing he didn't pawn during the worst years, even when we had to choose between heat and groceries. He used to say, "Some things you keep, even when everything else is gone." He wore it every day until the cancer made his wrists too thin. After he passed, we didn't fight about the will. There wasn't much to fight over. A house with a leaky roof, some vinyl records, and the watch. He told me he wanted me to have it, quietly, in that hospice room when we were alone. "You'll wear it right," he said. Only I never got it. A week after the funeral, I asked my older brother Darren where it was. He looked at me blankly. "Thought it was with you," he shrugged. I didn't press it. Grief makes people forgetful, I told myself. Maybe it got packed away. Maybe Mom misplaced it. Hell, maybe it was still at the hospice. I filed it under deal with later. But last month, I was standing in line at this hole-in-the-wall coffee shop in Oak Park, the kind with exposed brick and hipster baristas who hate smiling, when I noticed the guy in front of me adjusting his sleeve. That watch, that exact damn watch, the faded navy dial, the slightly cracked crystal, the tiny scratch on the bezel from when Dad dropped it on the garage floor fixing the water heater in '97. I knew that watch better than my own reflection. I stood there, heart pounding, mouth dry, trying to convince myself it was a coincidence. There had to be thousands of those watches still around, right? But then he turned around. Young guy, maybe mid-30s, wearing a fleece vest and smugness. He caught me staring. "Cool watch," I managed. He smiled. "Thanks. Got it from this vintage dealer online. Said it had family history. Thought that was kind of cool." I asked him the name of the dealer. I wish I hadn't, because that's how I found the listing. High-res photos, full description. Inherited Omega Seamaster. Excellent condition. One-of-a-kind patina. Family piece. Price to sell. Sold for $3,800. Seller, D. Matthews. My brother. I stared at the screen, hands shaking, while the rest of the world blurred around me. He didn't even bother to lie well. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't grief confusion. Darren sold the one thing Dad wanted me to have, the one thing he swore he'd protect. I didn't text him. I didn't call. I just printed the listing, drove to his house the next day, and waited for him to come home. Because if he thought that was the end of it, he didn't know me at all. He pulled into the driveway around 6, still in his work polo like nothing was wrong in the world. I was sitting on his front steps, folder in my lap. He looked surprised, then cautious, like a man who just remembered he left something on the stove 2 hours ago. "Hey," he said slowly, shutting the car door. "Didn't know you were coming by." "Yeah," I said, standing up. "Figured I'd save you the trouble of pretending you lost it." He squinted. "Lost what?" I opened the folder and pulled out the printout, his online listing, bright and damning. He froze when he saw it. I didn't say anything, just watched the color drain from his face. He tried to play dumb. "This doesn't prove anything." "You used your real name, Darren." "It was mine too, you know. Dad didn't leave a will. He said a lot of things when he was dying. You can't hold me to something that wasn't on paper." "You knew he wanted me to have it." He looked away. "It was just a watch." "No, it wasn't." There was a long pause. Then he tried a different angle. "I needed the money, Marcus." "You make 6 figures. You drive a Tesla." He scoffed. "Oh, please. Like you wouldn't have flipped it if you'd found out how much it was worth." You think you're some noble keeper of Dad's memory? You couldn't even be there the last night. That was low. He knew I had been at the hospital every day for weeks until I left to pick up Mom's meds the night before Dad passed. He was the one who barely showed up until the last 2 days. But that's how Darren worked. When cornered, he didn't apologize. He threw dirt. I held the folder out again. You're going to call that buyer. You're going to buy it back. I'll pay if I have to. He laughed bitterly. It's gone, Marcus. The guy wouldn't resell it. I already asked. You asked? He hesitated, then nodded. Right after I got your text about looking for the watch, I panicked, tried to undo it, but it was too late. I should have punched him. Instead, I turned and walked to my car. As I opened the door, I heard him mutter, "Maybe you should let it go. It's not like Dad's coming back." I didn't even look at him. I just said, "No, but his memory sure as hell isn't yours to sell." That night, I couldn't sleep, not because of the watch itself, but because of the realization that Darren had always been this way, selfish, entitled, and I'd always let it slide. For Mom, for peace, for the illusion of family. But not anymore. I pulled up the buyer's profile again. I had a name, a shipping address, and one last move to make. And I wasn't walking away without trying. I didn't sleep that night, just sat at the kitchen table, staring at the buyer's name scribbled on a post-it. Colin Wexler, Chicago address, West Loop. A guy with a tech job, probably more Patagonia than personality. I Googled him, not in a stalker way, just enough to build a plan.
Because here's the thing about me. I fix things. I'm not flashy. I'm not Darren rolling up late with sunglasses on indoors. I'm the guy who brings jumper cables, remembers birthdays, drives Mom to the podiatrist. I don't take things. I make things right. So I emailed Colin. Hi, my name is Marcus. I believe you recently purchased an Omega Seamaster from a seller named Darren Matthews. That watch belonged to my late father. There's a long story here, but the short version is it was sold without my knowledge, and it meant a great deal to me. I'm not asking for charity. I'd like to buy it back, at whatever price you name. Please consider. I sat staring at the blinking cursor after hitting send, like it might blink back with some miracle response. Then I shut the laptop, told myself not to get my hopes up. But the next morning, I had an email. Marcus, I had no idea. I'm really sorry. The listing didn't mention anything about it being a family heirloom. I'm not sure what to say. I've really grown attached to it. It's a beautiful piece, but I'd be willing to meet and talk. I read that line 10 times. Attached to it. Of course he was. That's what happens when you wear something with history. Except it wasn't his history. It was mine. We agreed to meet at a quiet cafe near the river. Neutral ground. I got there early. Brought an envelope with $5,000 in savings. More than he'd paid, but I wanted to leave no room for hesitation. Colin showed up in a gray sweater. Nice watch gleaming on his wrist. My watch. He sat down, polite but distant. We made small talk. I told him about Dad, about the garage, the late nights, how he used to tap the glass of that watch when he was thinking hard. Colin listened. He looked at the watch like it had changed shape. You can't buy sentiment, he said quietly. I nodded. But you can undo a mistake. He stared at me for a long time. Then slowly, like he was peeling off a layer of skin, he unclasped the band and set it on the table. I'll take what I paid, not a penny more. I pushed the envelope toward him. He didn't count it. As I walked out, the weight of the watch in my palm felt heavier than I remembered. Not just time, truth. But I wasn't done yet. Because if Darren thought he could just bury this and move on, he was about to learn that some ghosts don't rest. Some come back wearing watches. The first thing I did when I got home was open the old box in the back of my closet, the one with Dad's dog tags, his discharge papers, and the faded photo of him holding me as a baby in front of his Chevy truck, both of us squinting into the sun like we weren't sure what the world was yet. I set the watch inside, gently. I needed time to decide what came next. Melissa came into the bedroom, saw me with the box. You found it, she said, her voice soft. Not surprised, relieved. I nodded. Bought it back from the guy. Darren really did it. He actually sold it. Her face hardened the way it always did when my family came up. Are you going to tell your mom? That question hung in the air, because my instinct was yes.
To make it known, to shine a bright, merciless light on Darren's latest betrayal. But then I remembered the last time I tried that, when I told her Darren had lied about the car loan Dad co-signed. She'd waved it away. He didn't mean it like that. She always did. But now I had something better than outrage. I had the truth and proof. So I made a different decision. I posted the watch. Not for sale, just a photo. Black background. Clear shot of the dial. Caption read, "After a long journey, this watch is finally home. Miss you, Dad. Some things you just don't sell." That was it. I didn't tag anyone, didn't mention Darren, but people knew. Within a day, my inbox was full. A couple high school friends commented. My cousin Tracy DM'd me saying, "Wait, didn't Darren say that got lost in hospice?" Exactly. By Sunday, Darren called me. I didn't pick up. He tried again and texted, "What's with the post?" Another text, "We need to talk." Third text, "You made me look like a thief." So I finally replied, "You are one, but thanks for confirming it." He stopped texting after that, but the fallout was just getting started. See, I hadn't planned on involving the rest of the family, but Darren made that decision for me, because by Monday, I got a call from Aunt Joan, Mom's older sister, the one with the sharp tongue and sharper memory. She'd seen the post, asked what happened. I told her. All of it. The sale, the lie, the guilt trip. She was quiet for a second. Then, "Your father would have been ashamed of him." That hit harder than I expected, because for years I thought I was the disappointment, the quiet one, the too serious son who didn't joke around at barbecues or charm his way through Thanksgiving. But now someone else was finally saying it out loud. And then Aunt Joan did something I didn't see coming. She called my mom. I know because Mom called me 2 days later. She didn't yell. She didn't deny. She sounded tired, worn thin. "I didn't know," she said. "I truly didn't know." I wanted to believe her. Part of me still did, but I also knew how often she'd chosen not to look, how often she'd let Darren rewrite history because it was easier than facing the truth. "He sold it, Mom. He sold it for cash, after Dad made it clear it was supposed to stay in the family." "I know," her voice cracked. "He told me he panicked, that he regretted it." "Did he regret it when he lied to my face, when he mocked me for caring?" She didn't answer. "I got it back," I said. "I paid more than it was worth, but I got it. Not for me, for Dad." There was silence. Then, softly, "I'm sorry." It didn't fix anything, but it was something. A thread in a frayed tapestry that might never be mended, but didn't have to keep unraveling. After the call, I sat with the box again. I took the watch out and slid it onto my wrist for the first time. It fit perfectly, but I wasn't wearing it for the nostalgia anymore. No, this was armor now, because Darren wasn't done, and the next move he made, it was the one that changed everything. 2 weeks passed. No word from Darren. No texts, no angry calls. I figured the silence meant he was licking his wounds, maybe waiting for the gossip to die down. I underestimated him. It started with a voicemail from Mom. "Marcus, I just got off the phone with Darren. He says you're threatening legal action? Against your own brother? What is going on?" I hadn't contacted a lawyer, not yet, but just hearing the words come out of her mouth made me pause. I called her back. "What are you talking about?" She sighed like I'd cornered her at Thanksgiving. "He said you're trying to make him pay you back for the watch, that you're talking about suing the family." I closed my eyes, jaw tight. "Mom, I bought the watch back with my own money. I haven't filed anything. He's spinning a narrative again because he can't stand being called out." "You're twisting this, Marcus." "I posted a photo, Mom. I didn't write an exposé. He outed himself." She went quiet. I could hear the TV in the background, some daytime drama echoing through her living room while the real one played out over the phone. "I just wish you boys could work it out," she finally said, in that disappointed tone she always reserved for me. I laughed bitterly. You mean you wish I'd let him steal from me and stay quiet about it?" She hung up. That night, I got a letter in the mail. A literal letter, folded and creased like it had been carried in someone's back pocket too long. No return address, just my name, slanted across the front. Inside, one sheet of paper. "You're not the only one with receipts, Marcus. Don't forget who helped pay your tuition. Maybe Dad would have left you the watch if you hadn't dropped out of law school. Careful who you throw under the bus. The truth's got sharp corners." No signature, but I knew the handwriting. Darren. Melissa read it once and asked, "Does he really think this scares you?" "No," I said. "He thinks it shames me." But he was wrong. See, the only thing sharper than the truth is what you do with it. And I was done playing defense. The next morning, I pulled out an old banker's box from the garage labeled school/loans/etc. I hadn't touched it in years. Dust coated the lid, and a dead spider crumbled when I opened it. Inside was a stack of paperwork from a life I'd nearly forgotten. Tuition bills, scholarship letters, even the deferment form I filled the day I left law school. I found the one I needed, a printout of my financial aid package from 2006. Tuition covered 80% by federal aid and merit-based scholarships. The remaining balance paid through part-time jobs and a $2,000 loan from a local credit union with my name on it. No mention of Darren. No "we paid your way" story. Melissa looked over my shoulder. "So much for the 'we paid your way' story." I nodded. He's rewriting history again. That's when she said something I didn't expect. "What if we rewrote it back?" I turned to her. "What do you mean?" She opened her laptop, pulled up her blog, a quiet corner of the internet where she wrote about parenting, grief, resilience.
Her latest post was titled "Legacy and the Things We Can't Get Back." I hadn't read it yet. She clicked New Draft. "You tell your side. I'll help you shape it. No names, just the truth, the real version." I hesitated. I wasn't a public airing of grievances guy, but something had shifted. Darren was already spreading his version. He'd started the Whisper campaign, painting me as bitter, ungrateful, unstable. And like it or not, silence was a kind of permission. So I wrote. I wrote about the watch, about what it meant, about the moment I saw it on another man's wrist and realized my father's memory had been pawned by someone who shared my blood. I didn't name Darren. I didn't have to. We published the piece the next day. It caught fire, shared dozens of times by friends, co-workers, even some folks from our old neighborhood. Comments flooded in. People wrote about their own family betrayals, siblings who sold heirlooms, cousins who drained bank accounts. One woman wrote, "My brother sold my grandfather's war medals. I never told anyone. Thank you for this." A week later, the local newspaper reached out. They wanted to feature the post as part of a column on modern grief and family estrangement. We said yes, because the truth, once spoken, has a way of growing roots. But Darren wasn't done, because the next move he made wasn't subtle. It was public, and it was cruel. It hit on a Thursday morning before I'd even had my second cup of coffee. My coworker Leah walked by my desk with phone in hand. "Hey, isn't this your brother?" She turned the screen toward me. Darren, in a video, full suit, somber music, sitting in a leather chair like he was filming a campaign ad. Family isn't about things. It's about forgiveness, about not letting bitterness poison legacy. My family's going through a rough time right now. Lies are being spread. Pain is being weaponized. But I'm choosing to rise above. He paused, looked down at a framed photo of our dad. My dad. "This man taught me to be better, and I'll keep honoring him, even if others choose drama." The caption read, "When family turns toxic, you still get to choose dignity. #honor legacy." The comments were a mix of sympathy and clueless cheerleading, people who didn't know the story, strangers praising him for being the bigger person. I felt sick. Melissa walked in from the kitchen, saw my face. "What?" I showed her.
Her eyes narrowed. "He used your dad's face to paint himself as a victim?" I nodded slowly. "He's spinning it for attention now." Not just attention, control. He was preemptively framing the narrative, the post, the article, me, painting my truth as a tantrum. I knew what this was. Classic Darren. Get ahead of the story, look polished, make it seem like he's being attacked by someone unstable. I stared at the video again, at that smug little pause he gave before saying drama, like he'd just survived a fire I started. I wasn't going to post a response video. That wasn't my style. But I did still have Dad's voice.
Back in 2017, before the cancer, I'd helped Dad record hours of audio for a memoir project. Just me, a mic, and him in his garage. He'd never finished it, but I had the files. All of them. And in one of them, he said this: "If I die tomorrow, tell Marcus the watch goes to him. Darren doesn't give a damn about anything that doesn't make him look good. But Marcus, he sees things. He remembers. That watch stays in the family because of him." I clipped that 14-second quote, and I posted it. No caption, just Dad's voice, raw and crackly, talking like he always did. No polish, no rehearsed lines. That 14 seconds did what 1,000 typed rebuttals couldn't. It told the truth. Pure. Undeniable. And Darren? He didn't post another word. But Mom did. And her message was only 5 words. "I wish I'd listened sooner." The fallout didn't come in flames. It came in silence. Darren didn't delete his video. He didn't apologize. He didn't acknowledge Dad's voice or the way it echoed like a hammer hitting glass. He just went quiet. The comments on his post slowed, then turned. A few people asked, "Is this the same watch story?" Another linked the audio clip. No replies from him. No explanations. Mom called once more. This time, she didn't ask for peace. She just asked a question. "Do you hate him now?" I was standing on the porch, watching Lucas kick a ball against the garage wall. Emma was in the driveway, adjusting the solar lights she'd insisted on installing herself. They were glowing, even in the early evening. "No," I said. "I just don't respect him." Mom sighed, like that was worse. But it wasn't. It was freeing. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting for Darren to come around. I wasn't hoping he'd grow. I wasn't bracing for the next dig, the next betrayal, the next excuse delivered with a smirk and a shrug. I had let go. And in that space, life moved on. Emma's story got picked up by a STEM newsletter. She got invited to a regional competition as a guest speaker, 12 years old and already explaining thermal efficiency like she owned the patent. Lucas scored his first goal in his Saturday league and pointed at me like some tiny professional. Melissa's blog doubled in traffic. Companies reached out asking if she'd consult. She said yes, not out of obligation, but out of worth. As for me, I did something I never thought I would. I started wearing the watch every day, not to protect it, but to live in it the same way Dad did. I took it to work, to the grocery store, to every PTA meeting. I wore it to Emma's school showcase, where she introduced me to her science teacher as the guy who believed in it before I did. And when she hugged me afterwards and said, "I'm glad it's yours," I didn't cry. Not then. Later that night, though, I sat in the garage, the one I'd turned into a kind of messy shrine to Dad. His tools, his old Red Wings hat, the cracked stool no one dares fix, and I turned the watch over in my hand. It ticked softly, right on time. Still here. Still mine.
And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I had to earn anything. I just sat there, breathing, whole. Because the truth is, family doesn't begin or end with blood. It begins with who shows up, who remembers, who stays. And sometimes the strongest legacy you can leave isn't what you pass down, it's what you refuse to let get taken.